What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. In this video, we're going to be talking about how our judicial branch is really, truly being pretty much our saving grace right now against the chaos that is reigning in government with the Trump, Elon Musk uh, craziness that's going on. So we're going to talk about a couple of those different things, and I'm gonna give my opinion on it, and where we're going. I've got other videos that I'm going to do too today. Um, so stick around. I've got a couple of them that things I wanted to discuss, things that I kind of meant to get to last week, but I decided to put off a little bit because I wanted to gain my thoughts around it a little bit more and also see what we're going to come of some things. Thank you very much for joining me. Please consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Check out my other channels, JMD Drummer, JMD Play, the Discord there, one-time donation, art QR, or JMD Nation up there at the top. At Patreon, $3 a month there if you can. If you don't, no problem. Just thank you for any kind of support that you do give, and it's very much appreciated. So, all right. So yes, with all the kind of information that's just flooding out in this campaign that the Trump administration has been practicing, has been putting forward, pretty much since inauguration day. Basically the shock and awe, the flood the zone, kind of idea, which I'm going to do a separate video on. That kind of information, it's just there's so much been coming out at a time, and it's overwhelming for a lot of people, and a lot of people, feeling like they don't know exactly what to do about it. There's this conflicting information, unease, in what's going on, all of these branches or agencies and stuff that are being um, attacked by Elon Musk and his group of 20-something-year-olds that are just, um, it's seemingly breaking into these places, preventing people from even gaining access in some cases, and setting up their own servers uh, to absorb information from these places. I mean, it's crazy. And which is leaving a lot of people feeling like they just can't really, they don't know what to do about it. Hearing about things getting stopped, payments being paused, and people being laid off or asked for early retirement, or just being, or furloughed, or just told not to come in, or whatever or that they're fired, no longer needed. I mean, there's just it's complete chaos across our federal administration, and I'm talking about like the career administration agencies and stuff that pretty much take care of the day to day dealings of our government. These are apolitical groups. They're not there to implement a political ideology or anything over another. It's just they're just there to handle the everyday business, the everyday things that are appropriated by our government. Um, Things that we aid, domestically, to foreign, or whatever, programs and stuff that aid Americans all over the country in different types of ways, whether it be education or health, or economically, or whatever. I mean, there's so many different aspects to it, and while I understand that there is a heavy concern an argument for some of these agencies perhaps having potential corruption in some places, or potentially uh, allowing for like programs or things um, that are being given out that some people might consider unnecessary or wasteful or whatever the case. I mean, even if that is the case, and in some instances, there is evidence to some degree of that, even though small. Um, it, there are still ways about doing this that would create or prevent so much chaos and so much unrest and just unnecessary, just you know craziness. I mean, if if you actually took the time and not seem like you're just rushing through things, and just completely tearing everything down, or just shutting it all down, and throwing a bomb on it or whatever. If you actually went through it, and we've talked about this in a previous video, if we went through it with a fine tooth comb, it would be perfectly fine. If you weeded out the bad things, and then bring that up, in a uh, democratic way through Congress, or whatever the case, or whatever steps needed to that are the legal steps of maybe ending a potential, or a current, like aid or something, or some kind of way, or whatever the case. If whatever you would are deeming is wasteful or corrupt, or whatever the case. If you went through the proper lanes and stuff to have that eliminated, and it is agreed upon to eliminate it by multiple groups, or whatever the case, not having this just unilateral decision by one person, or whatever, to just eliminate it because you just don't like it, or whatever the case. That's just there are better ways to go about it. But the one thing, and so it feels very overwhelming. A lot of people, not sure and uneasy. It feels, even to some degree, that where we oftentimes look at Congress or something, or representatives in the House or the Senate or whatever, to do something if we feel something's not right. It, Here up to this point, or at least up to the point of probably the middle of last week, um, it didn't feel like we were getting much out of them. We didn't feel like we were really having, that they were doing anything. So it was kind of like, okay, well, who is doing something to prevent this? Well, the one thing that we have seen very strongly, and pretty almost immediate in some cases, is our judicial branch really stepping up and litigating, and putting pauses on some of these orders that are just being thrown out there. And we've seen this happen, like I said, almost immediately, from the we've had stuff from on the immigration front. We've had stuff on the um USAID front, from to the uh, there's several different things that these judges have been putting up on, to put pauses or stops. The foreign aid, uh, and domestic aid. We've even had judges stopping, or putting blocks on the Treasury, where you had Elon and or his groupie or whatever that took over the Treasury, and they were there was reports of the server and all that kind of stuff that they had implemented, and was that was a judge in New York that did a block on that, and uh, basically was like, this person is not allowed in here. They shouldn't be able to access this information, and if there is any information that was attained through their servers or whatever, then that needs to be immediately deleted because it's sensitive information. people's identification kind of stuff. Social security numbers, addresses, and I mean, all this type of information is being held there. Um, and then you had your judge that blocked. I think it was either this weekend or whatever. They had the dismissal, or tried to, Elon tried to unilaterally dismissal like 2,100 federal workers from the U.S. aid agency. 500 of them, I think, was like initially, like immediately dismissed, and then there was another certain amount of them. I think that may have been the 2,100. Anyways, I think it was like 2,700 and all, something like that. That were supposed to go into effect like today or something. Um, and there was a federal judge that blocked that, and that federal judge was actually a Trump appointed judge, a conservative judge that he appointed in his previous administration. So this is all across the board. This is not like this is a left leaning kind of thing fighting against the right or something. This is judges all across the country, no matter whether they're left leaning, centrist, or right, seeing things and like being like, wait, hold up here. Something's not right. Something's a little fishy. The legalities of this are a little complicated and uncertain, and we really need to take a look at this. So pause and let's look at whether this is legal or not, if this is constitutional or not. So I feel that I just wanted to take that just a moment to talk about that, and that even if you are at the moment not feeling like things are happening, or afraid, not knowing what you can do, for one, there is stuff going on. The judges, like I said, federal judges all over the country are deeming things, pausing things, stopping things, trying to hold them accountable. I even have here for today, we have a judge here that blocked some Venezuelan immigrants from being sent to Guantanamo. So as we know, they come down with, Trump wants to open up Guantanamo Bay for up to 30,000 immigrants to be held there, and his claim was that he was, it would be like, or they played this out, it was going to be the worst of the worst, like, are just absolute worst, criminals, immigrants that are, charges, killers, rapists, all these things that he's been saying, there's going to be the worst of the worst. We're going to send to Guantanamo. And while I argue that even that is not something that I particularly favor, I quite frankly think Guantanamo Bay should be completely shut down from all the horrific things that its history has shown. But we have here where a federal judge had to blocked Donald Trump's administration from sending 3 Venezuelan immigrants to Guantanamo Bay naval base in Cuba, which the president has turned into a detention facility for deported immigrants. The president's decision to keep up to 30 immigrants inside tents and camps in the military prison, which opened in 2002 to hold terrorism suspects during the War on Terror. It actually had stuff going on before that, but back in the 90s. But anyways, has drawn international scrutiny from civil rights and humanitarian groups. In the late night order, February 9th, Judge Kenneth J. Gonzalez, temporarily blocked the transfer of 3 immigrants with a long-standing legal challenge against their unconstitutionally prolonged detention after fleeing Venezuela and seeking protection in the U.S. The 3 men have each been in detention with immigration and customs enforcements with no end in sight, according to their complaint, which was first filed in September of 2024. Okay, so this is before, this is in Biden's administration. I fear being taken to Guantanamo because of the news it paints is painting it as a black hole. This is one of the um, three immigrants, Morales, who has been in ICE custody since October 2023. I also see that human rights are constantly violated in Guantanamo, so I fear that what could happen to me if I get taken there. Para, who has been in ICE custody since October of 2023, also that he fears Guantanamo because I've seen on the news that it's a maximum security prison, which it was. And there's horrible things that happen there. I'm scared of how I'll be treated there, and that I'll be tormented, that I won't be able to communicate with my family or know when I'll be released. The news is releasing pictures of the faces of people associated with this, and if that were to be released in my home country, I'm scared that what that could do to me and my family's safety. The Center for Congressional Rights, which is representing the three men, has labored for decades to close Guantanamo and secure accountability for human rights abuses perpetrated there against Haitian migrants in the 90s and hundreds of Muslim men and boys post 9/11. Now the Trump administration is invoking the specter of Guantanamo, known around the world as shameful system of torture and lawlessness to terrorize our clients. There has been all kinds of torture and crazy stuff that's happened in Guantanamo. Yeah, this is where our Secretary Kristi Noem stating that, which the administration claims to be used to jail suspected Trinde Gua, whatever, I don't know, the gang members, the worst of the worst illegal immigrants or illegal criminals. According to Noem, that's their reason for sending anyone that they're sending to Guantanamo. That's the purpose. But these three Venezuelan men who passed credible fear interviews as part of their request for asylum, these are asylum seekers, have been held at Otero, I guess that's right, County Processing Center in New Mexico for more than a year. They filed a motion on Sunday for a restraining order that would block their transfer. The Center of Constitutional Rights argued to court documents that their clients' procedural rights will not be fully respected by the Trump administration. In this order on Sunday night, Gonzalez wrote that considering the uncertainty surrounding jurisdiction, the court determines it is necessary to enjoin the transfer of petitioners to Guantanamo Bay. Transferring people from the Ontario. This is okay. Transferring people from the Otero County Processing Center, where we have ready access to visit our clients, to an offshore prison thousands of miles away from council is appalling, said Zoe Bowman, which is a supervising attorney for Los Americans Immigrant Advocacy Center. The Trump administration uses a facility famous for torture to unnecessarily intimidate and terrorize immigrants like our clients, who only wish to reunite with their families and loved ones in the U.S. So yeah, this just shows though that the administration is overreaching even in what they claim that they are opening stuff up for. They claim they're opening up for the worst of the worst. They're the the criminals or whatever, killers and gang members and all this kind of stuff that we have in they say it's all all in our country. And that's what they're planning on sending. But these are just asylum seekers from Venezuela that trying to seek asylum here, reunite with their families and whatnot. They've been held up for over a year in this processing center, and with no end in sight as to when they're going to get their clearance or whatever for asylum. But they're being threatened to be sent to Guantanamo, be transferred there. So they are, it just shows that this is not the point. And there is no limit to what the administration and is going to do with immigrants right now. I mean, anybody could be, sent to the worst places, possible, and it's just ridiculous. If you're not, I mean, they've shown over and over again that they don't have any like real like plan, like breaking down exactly who they're going to get here, who they're going to get there. Like they have no clue. They're just grabbing up everybody. They're just grabbing up anybody who looks even remotely close to being an immigrant and questioning them. Asking for identification and everything else. I mean, we've had everything from U.S. veterans to teachers to, I mean, all kinds of people that have been falsely detained and everything. They were U.S. citizens, non-immigrants at all, just because they were confused to be. I mean, is ridiculous. Um, so yeah, that's one thing there. Then the judge that brought about the freeze on the federal spending, where the Trump administration or Elon went in and they were trying to completely freeze either the executive order completely freeze all federal aid, and a judge stopped that to keep it from freezing. He unfroze it, and he found apparently here recently that Trump administration has not been following to that order. Said here, a federal judge found Monday that the Trump administration hasn't fully followed his order to unfreeze federal spending and told the White House to release billions of dollars in federal funding. The Trump administration quickly appealed. So they don't have an intent in completely releasing this stuff. U.S. District Court Judge John McConnell became the first judge to find that the administration had not followed a court order. Federal money for things like early childhood education, pollution reduction, and HIV prevention research has remained tied up even after his January 31st order blocking a planned halt on federal spending. Uh, McConnell ordered the Trump administration to immediately take every step necessary to follow his temporary restraining order, halting plans for a sweeping freeze of federal funding. In the latest in a string of legal setbacks. The judge said his temporary restraining order also blocked the administration from cutting billions of dollars in grant funding from the National Institutions of Health, as announced last week. These pauses in funding violate the plain text of the temporary restraining order. The broad, categorical, and sweeping freeze of federal funding is, as the court found, likely unconstitutional and has caused and continues to cause irreparable harm to a vast portion of this country. The White House did not immediately respond to messages seeking comment. The administration quickly appealed the ruling to the First Circuit Court of Appeals. The administration has said that it is making good faith effort to comply with the judge's ruling in a lawsuit filed by nearly 24 states. By the judge, but the Justice Department also argued that his ruling only applied to a sweeping spending freeze outlined in a uh, late January memo that has since been rescinded. The ruling does not apply to other spending pauses outlined in different memos. So they're trying to claim that his ruling only applied to one specific memo that they've rescinded, but it didn't apply to other memos that they put out, which they had put out over like 2 or 3 days, different memos that were conflicting with each other, but it was all about the same damn thing. So this is just a petty argument, including funding that was part of the Joe Biden's uh, signature climate, healthcare, and tax package. But McConnell, who is based in Rhode Island and was nominated by Obama, said his order blocked the administration from a wide range of funding cuts. Yeah, none of this, I don't think, really. Yeah, well, McConnell said down here, um, because this is just showing a couple of different uh, judges that have also kind of did things on the same kind of on the same issue. But he says that McConnell says here, this is a country of laws. We expect the administration to follow the law. Um, oh no, I'm sorry. This isn't McConnell. This is Nero, or which was another federal judge, I think. Um, we will not hesitate to go back to the court if they don't comply. Um, yeah. So this is showing that the Trump administration is already not found to not be complying to judgment rulings, which has also been the argument and concern that here, especially in the past few days, with statements being made by Elon Musk and by JD Vance, that they weren't going to, they were just going to basically say, well, we don't care, we don't care what you judge or what your ruling is. We're going to do what we want. And which is a concern and something that, we most certainly need to keep and pay attention to. And how, if the rulings that are coming down to pause things or stop things or hold them up until they're litigated and constitutional discussions had about it or whatever, and if they just continue to just do it anyways, regardless of what the rulings are, then further steps need to be taken. But just understand that the federal courts are going at it. They're holding up their side of the bargain. Now, some things, of course, what the Trump administration really wants is for it to go all the way to the Supreme Court. The one that they're pushing, which they initially pushed, was the USAID agency stuff, and they probably want that one to go all the way up because they probably feel like that's like the easiest one for them. They to try to argue a victory for. I don't think it's gonna. I think they're overcasting themselves, but some do fear that the Supreme Court is secure, as conservative as they are, and they have had a tendency to favor Trump in the past, although they also have had a favor, or they have also had moments where they kind of did go against them, though. So I don't know. I'm not going to have complete confidence in or I really don't have much confidence at all, honestly, in our Supreme Court, but this does seem like a very, very questionable, some questionable things going on here, legally speaking, because they're trying to do things unilaterally without the consent of Congress or anything, which is technically illegal. These agencies and stuff were appointed by Congress. They are supposed to only be dismantled by Congress. That's the way it's supposed to go. You're not supposed to be able to just completely eliminate an office, especially if it was congressionally appointed or constructed. At least my understanding. So, but like I said, it go to the courts and they argue it out and hash it out. Whatever, we have to accept whatever this is the turnout of that. Just like I feel like the administration should accept whatever the turnout of that is. So, but that's the question: is will they actually accept whatever ruling is comes about in each of these cases? That's the big question. So it's something to keep a watch on, most certainly. But from my understanding, you have, as of last week, the House came back into session. From my, if I'm correct, um, and you started seeing a lot more attacking going on. That's where you had those representatives that showed up at the Department of Education, because that's the next one that they seem to be hitting really, getting ready to try to completely dismantle, or already taking steps for it. And they tried to gain access to it and were not allowed. There was a supposedly security guy there. Nobody knew, and he was preventing them from going in. The doors were locked, and Elon's little team was up in there, doing whatever the hell they were doing, and nobody knows. Um, and so, these are our representatives, people that or over the oversight committees, people that are over the educational like committee things that should have um, full access to an agency like this. Even on the door, it was like sign, showing that basically entry is, it's a public entry, and nobody, it shouldn't be locked up and prevented from entering. Um, and so, but they were being refused, not allowed in. Um, and this is what I'm talking about here. That the steps that Elon and his crew are taking very seriously seem illegal and unconstitutional, and they're just having carte blanche support by Trump to do whatever the hell he wants. So and this is, by someone who's not a democratically appointed nominee or anything for any kind of legitimate agency or something. Doge is not really a legitimate agency. He's just a private, citizen that's the richest man, happens to be the richest man in the world, and he's being given access to all these different things as a special agent of, the government. It's craziness. And you should be very concerned. Everybody should be concerned. Everybody should be in a uproar. But yes, Congress has come back into play here now. And from a video that AOC put out, she was trying to explain that, yes, it did seem like stuff wasn't being done. And maybe to some degree, some weren't really trying to do anything. But there were a few who actually were in their out of session where they go back to their states. They're trying to, go through their, appointed congressional districts and talk with people, or deal with stuff locally. That there were some of them that actually did go through chains or concerns with judicially in those local areas, and that's what helped promote some of the judicial actions that were being taken on some of these things. So even though they weren't directly, some of them, a couple of them at least, weren't directly doing stuff in Washington because they weren't there, but they were actually helping to push the judicial side of it. But now they are back in session, or they were back in session. And so you should start seeing some things, even from them, start happening. Like you had Al Green from Texas, arguing for impeachment articles and stuff, but that was solely based in Gaza, around the Gaza announcement. Although at the Super Bowl last night, there was apparently a text message that went out to all, whatever, MAGA or whoever, all, talking, basically saying that, do I have it still pulled up? I had it pulled up at one time. Is it this one? Yeah, I think it's this one right here. Yes. Where was the full? Okay, yeah, here. Is a donation read. So it was like, I won in a landslide victory, and now Democrat lunatics have threatened to impeach me again after my historic Trump executive orders. I will never let them stop MAGA. And then it was like, if you support me in my mission to save America, humbly asking you to a huge statement right now to Democrats, about this sham impeachment. Before the game is over, I'm calling on 1 million pro-Trump patriots to chip in and proudly say, I stand with President Trump. So this is a money, uh, in my opinion, a scam because it's a lie. He's sitting there saying that you're trying to impeach him because of the executive orders, and that's not what the um, proclamation or whatever by Al Green to bring about impeachment articles was for. It was for Gaza, solely only about Gaza. It had nothing to do with any of his executive orders. He hasn't done an executive order on Gaza. So this is, this in itself was a lie, just to make money, just to get 1 million patriots to send him money. The dude, this is what he does. This is what he does all the time. This is what I'm talking about. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm going longer on this video than I planned on. But as far as you are concerned, anything you can do, you can talk about it, spread the word, do something like I'm doing right now. Talking about it, bringing it up, trying to bring alarm or concern to friends, family, whatever the case, or if that's what you want to do. You can also contact your representatives and hit them like crazy on it. Ask them to do something about it, and make yourself a nuisance, quite frankly, to them. And those are the types of things you can do. Or if you so choose, and want to feel the need to try to do something. But if anything, just at least stay informed. Stay informed. Try to read through propaganda, try to really, get down to the nitty gritty of what's going on and all these different things. And even though it's very hard to keep up with. And a lot of times people just want to back out and be like, what, this is too much. I don't care. Whatever. There's nothing we can do about it. But that's exactly what they want you to do. That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to just turn around, close your eyes and be like, whatever. It's nothing I can do. It's just, it's up in the air. Whatever happens, and I'll just have to deal with it. That's what they want you to do. They don't want the pushback and the pressure and the, so, it's just like our protests and stuff that have been going on. There's been protests all over the country. Protest about immigration. The other day, there was organized protest in all 50 states. First time ever. A protest across all 50 states has been established against, or at least especially against the president. So this is historic stuff going on right now. So, if that's the route you want to go, then join the protest. Whatever the case, or like I said, at the very least, please stay informed. And I will help you the best I can to do that. From my side, there are plenty of other outlets as well, though. Independent outlets and stuff, on YouTube that you can get information from. Some very honest and reputable, and I wholeheartedly would be okay, or would suggest you check out. Others should, questionable. But please just just stay informed. Thank you very much, and yeah, that's all for this one. Thank you very much, and peace. It's ClearTalk. I'm out.